It began, like so many internet storms do, quietly, almost invisibly, with a single short clip drifting into the feed of a stranger. No one knew who posted it first. No one could trace the origin. But within hours it was everywhere. TikTok's looping videos, Instagram reels, even grainy reposts on Twitter, all whispering, shouting, and joking about one shocking headline. Jessica, eaten by a dolphin. It was absurd. It was sensational. For millions, it was irresistible. First time we see Jessica in the viral footage, she's standing on a sun-bleached pier in what appears to be a small coastal town. She's dressed in a light blue summer dress with white sandals, the hem of the fabric dancing in the breeze off the ocean. Her hair, golden brown, is pulled into a loose braid over one shoulder. She's smiling, not nervously, not guardedly, but with the pure, unfiltered ease of someone who feels entirely safe in her surroundings. She's leaning slightly forward, extending a hand toward the sparkling surface of the water. Below, the unmistakable curve of a dolphin's back breaks the surface. It arcs gracefully, a slick flash of gray in the sunlight. Jessica's voice, soft, playful, drifts toward the phone camera recording her. "Hey there, aren't you beautiful?" It's an image so wholesome, it could have been part of a travel advertisement. But in the clipped, edited chaos of the internet, it would be transformed into something else entirely. The clip cuts abruptly. The frame shakes violently. There's a splash, an audible gasp, and the phone camera jolts toward the water. For less than 2 seconds, the lens captures a swirl of foam, a blur of blue fabric, and then nothing. The screen goes black. The next frame is the kind of text slide beloved by internet hoaxers, stark white letters on a black background. RIP Jessica -2010 to 2025. It was enough to send millions into a frenzy. The story seemed bizarre to be real. But that was its power. People wanted to believe it, or at least to speculate about it. The comment sections filled with half-serious condolences and full-on conspiracy theories. Some claimed Jessica had been part of a tourist swim program gone wrong. Others insisted she had been attacked, not by a playful bottlenose dolphin, but by a trained killer, an orca in disguise. The most extreme theories claimed there was a cover-up involving the marine park industry, a hidden record of dozens of similar incidents. Within 24 hours, #Jessica and the Dolphin was trending globally. Influencers faked emotional reaction videos. Amateur investigators slowed down the original clip frame by frame, pointing to splashes that looked suspiciously like flailing arms. A handful of marine biologists waded in to remind people that dolphins are not generally aggressive toward humans, but their posts were drowned in the noise. By day 2, digital detectives had begun to dig into Jessica's identity. The only concrete details came from the clip itself. She looked to be in her mid-20s, wearing that same light blue summer dress with white sandals, standing on a pier that could be almost anywhere in the world. Some thought they recognized the coastline as Florida, others swore it was Portugal. Few claimed it was shot in the Pacific Islands. Every theory sparked its own thread of debate. Then came the longer version. TikTok account with no prior history, username @saltwatertruth, uploaded what they claimed was the full video. In this one, the moment after Jessica leans forward, plays differently. The dolphin surfaces again, closer this time, and Jessica laughs, stepping onto the edge of the pier. She crouches slightly, fingers grazing the water. Without warning, the animal surges upward, splashing her face. Jessica stumbles, her sandals slipping on the wet wood. She tumbles forward, arms flailing, into the water. The camera shakes as the person recording screams her name. There's thrashing, but whether from Jessica or the dolphin is unclear. And then the same black screen. The internet had its smoking gun. Theories hardened into facts in the minds of viewers. People began sharing the video with warnings like "Don't trust dolphins," and she didn't deserve this. Memes sprang up, some lighthearted, others cruel. But among the chaos, a smaller group began to ask questions. If this had truly happened, where was the official confirmation? Why was there no news report? No police statement? No family post? And why did all versions of the clip, even the full one, end in exactly the same abrupt fade to black? It was here in the tension between belief and doubt that the story took on a life of its own. The more people questioned it, the more others doubled down on their certainty. And in this swirling storm of speculation, Jessica, whether real, fictional, or somewhere in between, became the internet's newest obsession. Behind the scenes, a handful of journalists began to investigate. One of them was Mia Clark, a freelance reporter with a reputation for untangling viral myths. She had covered everything from faked shark attack footage to fabricated celebrity deaths. But even she admitted there was something unnerving about the Jessica story. The combination of innocence, that smile, that dress, that sunny pier, with the implied violence, made it stick in the mind. In Mia's first notes, she wrote, "Need to identify date, location, camera owner, and if Jessica is real, video. Origin, uncertain, possible staged." She began her search by reverse image searching stills from the clip. No matches. She reached out to dolphin trainers, marine park managers, and coastal police departments across 3 continents. No one had heard of any such incident in recent weeks. One source, a marine safety officer in Florida, even laughed when Mia described the clip. "Sounds like one of those TikTok scare videos," he said. "People eat them up." But Mia wasn't convinced, not yet, because in her digging, she found something odd. An archived news article from 2010 about a young woman named Jessica Callahan, who had been involved in a fatal incident at a marine park in New Zealand. The details were vague, the cause of death officially listed as accidental drowning. The only available photo of Jessica Callahan, smiling young woman on a pier wearing a light blue summer dress with white sandals, it was the first real lead, and it suggested that the viral clip might not be entirely fabricated, but instead a twisted resurrection of a real tragedy from 15 years ago. The discovery of the 2010 case changed the shape of the investigation almost instantly. Up until that point, the Jessica and the dolphin story had lived in the realm of viral absurdity, a digital prank that fed on shock value. But now, with the name Jessica Callahan connected to a real drowning at a marine park in New Zealand, the line between hoax and history began to blur. Mia Clark, the freelance journalist chasing the truth, felt the shift in her gut. This wasn't just an internet rumor anymore. Someone, somewhere, had pulled a tragedy from the past and given it new life in the most unsettling way possible. The archived article itself was bare bones. Published by a small local newspaper, it described a marine encounter gone wrong. At Ocean View Marine Park, an attraction located on the outskirts of Tauranga, witnesses reportedly saw Jessica, then just 21, leaning over the edge of the park's dolphin enclosure when she fell into the water. Staff members claimed they rushed in immediately, but Jessica never resurfaced. Her body was recovered. Later that day, the coroner's report concluded she had drowned, with no evidence of foul play. There were no details about the dolphin involved, no mention of aggression. In fact, the article emphasized that such incidents were unheard of at the park. And yet, the accompanying photo, Jessica smiling on a pier in a light blue summer dress with white sandals, looked eerily like the woman in the viral clip. Mia knew it could be a coincidence. Dresses like that weren't rare. But the pose, the sunlight, even the angle of the shot, they all felt too precise to ignore. Her first move was to get her hands on everything the paper had ever written about the incident. That meant cold calling the now semi-writer reporter who had covered the story, a man named Paul Ridley. His voice on the phone was gravelly, tinged with suspicion. "Why are you digging this up?" he asked. After Mia explained who she was, "Because it's resurfaced," she said. "There's a video, supposedly recent, showing a woman in a dress just like Jessica's, with a dolphin. People are saying she was attacked, think someone might be using her death for clicks." There was a pause. It wasn't an attack, Paul said flatly. "Not back then." She slipped. "The dolphin barely touched her. I watched the footage myself." "You saw it?" Mia's heart quickened. "Yeah, security cam from the park." She was laughing, leaning over, then gone. Park didn't want it out. Family didn't want it out either. Mia pressed for more. But Paul was reluctant. "I'll tell you this much. If that's the same footage, someone's edited it." That means they've got access to things they shouldn't. That night, Mia pulled up the viral video again. She slowed it down frame by frame, scrutinizing every pixel. It wasn't just that Jessica's dress matched, the piers would grain. The weathered railing, even the distant silhouette of a white lighthouse matched descriptions from the park's tourist brochures circa 2010. It was possible the clip was an incredibly elaborate recreation. Something told Mia. It had reached out to the Callahan family, fully expecting no reply. To her surprise, she got an email the next morning from Jessica's older brother, Liam. His tone was guarded but polite. "I don't know why this is happening now," he wrote, "but that video isn't from 2025. That's my sister. Someone's playing a sick game. We were told all the footage had been destroyed." This was confirmation, and it made the entire situation far darker. Somehow, more than a decade after her death, a private video of Jessica's final moments had leaked online. It's worse. It had been altered to make it look recent. The circumstances had been twisted into something sensational. Mia arranged a video call with Liam. On screen, he looked tired, his jaw tense. He confirmed details from the coroner's report, but added something new. The dolphin wasn't aggressive. Jess loved them. She used to volunteer at the park. That day, Jess lost her footing. "I hate that people are making her out to be some victim of an animal attack. It's not who she was." "Do you have any idea who might have the original footage now?" Mia asked. Liam hesitated. "Only the park and the police ever had it, and one other person. Jess's boyfriend at the time. He was filming her from the pier before she fell. Security cam got the full angle, but his phone had part of it too. That was a lead Mia couldn't ignore. The boyfriend, according to old articles, was named Daniel Hart. A quick search showed he'd moved to Australia in 2013 and worked sporadically as a video editor. His social media accounts were sparse, but his LinkedIn profile listed him as a freelance content creator. Mia's stomach churned. If anyone had the motive and the skills to manipulate old footage, it was him. Tracking him down wasn't easy. His phone numbers were dead, and emails bounced back. But through a network of media contacts, Mia eventually got an address in a suburb outside Brisbane. She booked the next flight she could afford. When she arrived, the small rental house looked unremarkable: faded paint, overgrown lawn, a squeaky gate. No one answered the door at first, but as she turned to leave, a man stepped out from behind the side of the house. He was in his mid-30s, scruffy but sharpened. "You're the journalist," he said, not asking, but stating. "Yes," Mia replied. "I'm looking into the Jessica video." Daniel's gaze hardened. "Shouldn't be. I think you leaked it," she said. She didn't raise her voice. She just let the words settle. His jaw worked for a moment. Then he said, "If I did, do you think I'd tell you?" They stood there in tense silence, the Australian summer heat pressing down on them. Finally, Daniel exhaled. "I didn't leak it, but I know who did." The name he gave her wasn't one she recognized. But he explained that back in 2010. A junior technician at the marine park had made a copy of the security footage as a keepsake. That tech, Daniel said, had been obsessed with weird internet projects for years. Hoaxes, creepypasta videos, viral pranks. "He always said Jess's clip was perfect horror material," Daniel said quietly. "I told him to delete it. Guess he didn't." The tech's name was Evan Blake. According to Daniel, he'd vanished from the public eye about 5 years ago, only to resurface occasionally under anonymous usernames tied to bizarre online hoaxes. Now Mia had another name to chase. But as she sat in her budget hotel that night, reviewing everything she'd learned, she couldn't shake the image of Jessica on that pier. The light blue summer dress with white sandals, the easy smile, the sun on her face. It was more than just a frame in a video. It was the moment before a life ended. And the moment someone decided to turn that ending into entertainment, the next step was clear. Find Evan Blake. But what she didn't know yet was that Evan wasn't hiding from the public. He was watching the chaos he'd created, and he had plans to push it even further. Mia Clark had dealt with online hoaxers before. Some were petty opportunists chasing ad revenue. Others were performance artists masquerading as truth benders. But there was something different about Evan Blake. According to Daniel Hart, the former Marine Park technician had always been fascinated by the morbid potential of real footage, the way a single image could be reframed to provoke horror, outrage, or obsessive curiosity. In Evan's hands, Jessica Callahan's death had been pulled from the quiet dignity of a private tragedy and thrown into the roaring chaos of the modern internet. Mia wasn't sure if she was chasing a criminal or a man addicted to chaos, but she knew she had to find him. Her first real lead came through a web forum for digital archivists, a euphemism for collectors of everything from obscure VHS tapes to stolen hard drives. Buried in a thread about found footage with disturbing backstories was a post from an account called Undercurrent, referencing the Taronga dolphin girl. The post was brief. Finally got the edit right. Frame glitch fixed. The pier scene hits harder now. No video was attached. But the timestamp was from just weeks before the viral clip exploded. Mia began trawling through Undercurrent's activity. The account had been around for years, hopping between fringe video boards and encrypted chat groups. Most of the posts were about editing techniques, grain filters, and authenticity markers, the little imperfections that make fake footage feel real. One post in particular chilled her. A screenshot of a young woman on a pier, the ocean behind her, her golden brown hair in a loose braid. Wearing a light blue summer dress with white sandals. It was Jessica. The more Mia dug, the clearer the pattern became. Evan wasn't just circulating the clip. He was actively refining it, tweaking colors, adjusting the sound to emphasize the splash, adding subtle distortions to make it harder to trace its origin. He was treating Jessica's death like a work-in-progress art project, designed to hook and horrify strangers through a contact in cybersecurity. Mia traced Undercurrent to a handful of possible IP addresses. Most were dead ends, coffee shops, public Wi-Fi spots, even an abandoned warehouse. But one hit stood out, a small, run-down internet cafe in Auckland, New Zealand. It was too neat to be coincidence. Evan had lived in New Zealand before disappearing. From public view, no it seemed, he had drifted back to the place where the story began. Mia booked another flight. When she landed, the air was damp and cool, a sharp contrast to the sticky heat of Brisbane. She found the cafe easily, a dimly lit space with peeling posters and a faint smell of burnt coffee. Rows of outdated computers hummed softly, each screen glowing in the half-dark. The man behind the counter barely looked up when Mia walked in. "Looking for someone?" she said quietly. "Evan Blake." The man's eyes flickered for a second. Recognition, maybe, or warning. He shrugged. "Lots of people come here. Don't know their names." Mia didn't push it. Instead, she rented a computer in the back corner and waited. For 2 hours, nothing happened. Then, just as she was about to leave, a tall, wiry man in a black hoodie walked in. He kept his head down, but there was an intensity to his movements. Quick, deliberate, like he was always 2 steps ahead. He sat 3 rows over, logged in, and began typing furiously. From her angle, Mia couldn't see his screen, but she didn't need to. Her cybersecurity contact had set up a tracker that would ping her if Undercurrent logged in anywhere near her location. 10 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Evan Blake was online, and he was less than 20 feet away. Mia's pulse hammered in her ears. She could confront him right there. But she knew the moment she did, he'd vanish again. Instead, she quietly opened her laptop and joined one of the encrypted chat rooms Undercurrent frequented. She posted a message under a fake account. "The pier footage is everywhere. People want more. You holding back?" Evan replied almost instantly. "Always holding back? The good stuff's never free." Mia's fingers flew. "What's the good stuff?" A pause. "You've only seen the public cut. There's more." Before she fell. "After." The words sent a cold shiver down her spine. After. That could mean anything or nothing. It could be a bluff, a way to bait whoever was on the other end into paying for fabricated material. But Mia sensed he was telling the truth. Before she could type another word, Evan stood up and left. Mia followed, careful to keep her distance. He walked fast, cutting through side streets and alleys until they reached the waterfront. The same waterfront, Mia realized, that lay just a few miles from where Jessica had died 15 years earlier. Evan stopped at a bench overlooking the gray. "Restless water? You've been following me," he said without turning around. Mia froze. "I'm trying to find out why you're doing this." Finally, he looked at her pale eyes, unblinking. "Because people forget, I make them remember. By twisting the truth, by turning a girl's death into a sideshow." His expression didn't change. "Truth is just raw footage. I give it a story." Mia wanted to scream at him, but she forced herself to stay calm.
"What's on the rest?"
Of the footage, Evan smiled faintly, the part they didn't want anyone to see. She didn't just fall, she changed her mind halfway, tried to get back up. The dolphin nudged her. Not hard, it's just enough. But you can see it in her face. That moment she realized she wasn't going to make it. The cruelty in his tone made Mia's stomach turn. "And you're sitting on that?" "Not sitting on it," Evan said. "I'm perfecting it." Mia realized then that she wasn't dealing with someone who could be persuaded by morality. Evan didn't see himself as exploiting Jessica. In his mind, he was immortalizing her, crafting a digital ghost that would haunt the internet forever. That night, back in her hotel, Mia received an anonymous email. No text, just a single video file. She hesitated before opening it.
The first.
Frame was Jessica. Same golden brown hair in a loose braid. Same light blue summer dress with white sandals standing on the pier. But this was different. She wasn't smiling at the water. She was looking directly at the camera, her expression unreadable. The clip continued past the familiar splash, showing Jessica struggling in the water, reaching for the edge, her fingers slipping on the wet wood. In the background, the dolphin circled, curious but not aggressive. Then the camera jerked away, and the screen went black. Mia sat in silence, her hands cold. This wasn't just viral fodder anymore. It was evidence not of a crime, maybe, but of how a single moment could be reshaped until the truth was unrecognizable. And Evan Blake still had the power to push it further. She knew what she had to do next. The footage had to be traced, verified and exposed before Evan could release another, more grotesque version. But the deeper she went, the more dangerous the game would become. Because now it wasn't just about Jessica's story. It was about controlling a narrative that millions had already chosen to believe. The days following the tragic incident saw a sudden transformation of the small coastal town from a peaceful tourist haven into a center of media frenzy, government inquiry, and whispered speculation. Jessica's story about how a usually gentle dolphin had fatally turned on her during what was supposed to be a safe, guided swim had spread internationally. Yet the deeper investigators dug, the less the situation resembled a simple animal attack. Eyewitnesses began to emerge with conflicting accounts. Some insisted they saw the dolphin behaving erratically minutes before the attack, circling in tight, aggressive loops, while others claimed it had been calm until a loud motorboat roared past the lagoon. Marine biologists dispatched by the state examined the site, finding traces of something unusual in the water chemical residues that could have been from sunscreen, fuel, or possibly even substances that disrupt marine mammal behavior.
Jessica!
Recovering at home, wore the same light blue short-sleeved shirt and khaki shorts she had worn the day of the attack during her interviews, both to maintain consistency for legal purposes and because the clothing had become a strange, unintentional, a symbol of the event. As the investigation deepened, reports surfaced of similar incidents in other parts of the world where dolphins had shown sudden bursts of aggression without clear provocation. Local authorities began pulling tourist swim programs from the market, sparking protests from business owners who relied on dolphin excursions for their income. But behind the scenes, a darker theory took hold that this attack may not have been entirely natural. The lead investigator hinted in a press conference that there was evidence suggesting human interference, though he refused to elaborate. Jessica herself struggled with survivor's guilt and the emotional burden of being at the center of a media storm. Every time she closed her eyes, she could still feel the water churning around her, the sudden force pulling her under, and the shadowy shape in the deep. Her lawyers advised her not to speak further until the investigation concluded, but Jessica couldn't help replaying the events in her mind, trying to spot something she had missed. It was then that a shocking piece of video footage surfaced from a tourist's waterproof camera grainy, but enough to make out what appeared to be a dark figure, possibly human. Just beneath the water, seconds before the dolphin lunged. Whether it was a diver, a prank gone wrong, or something more sinister was unclear. The footage raised more questions than answers, and the town's once idyllic lagoon was now viewed with suspicion and fear. Tourists still came, but they stood on the shore instead of diving in. By the end of the week, the story had shifted. From tragic dolphin attack to unsolved aquatic mystery, Jessica realized she might never fully know what happened to her in that deep, shimmering water. The media frenzy surrounding Jessica's disappearance had reached fever pitch. Reporters camped outside her parents' home. Social media buzzed with conspiracy theories ranging from government experiments to supernatural encounters. Deep beneath the noise, the truth remained elusive, hidden in the cold. Blue silence of the ocean, days turned into weeks, and the official rescue operation wound down. The Coast Guard issued their final statement: "No trace of Jessica Monroe has been found. Search operations are now suspended." For Jessica's family, those words were a gut punch. A final confirmation that the world had moved on, even if they could not. But while the official search ended, one man refused to let the case die. Daniel Cross, an independent marine biologist, an ocean explorer, had been following Jessica's story closely. He had seen the uncut footage, the last few frames of the tourist's video, before it cut to black. What caught his attention wasn't the dolphin's sudden aggression, it was the shadow in the water behind it. Marine life, and he knew that shadow didn't match any known dolphin behavior. Determined, Daniel funded his own expedition, hiring a small team and renting a research vessel. Using sonar, they began mapping the seafloor where Jessica had vanished. The water was unusually deep for the coast, and readings indicated several submerged cave systems no one had previously charted. On the 7th day of the search, they found something extraordinary. Nearly 200 feet below the surface, in a narrow trench. Their submersible's lights caught sight of a glittering reflection, a fragment of bright orange fabric, tangled on a jagged rock. The team quickly retrieved it. Underwater analysis confirmed it was from a life jacket, and further testing revealed faint traces of Jessica's DNA. This changed everything. Jessica's parents, now armed with physical evidence, pressured the authorities to reopen the investigation. Reluctantly, the Coast Guard agreed, and Daniel's team was granted permission to continue their search with official backing. The breakthrough came when a submersible drone ventured deeper into the trench. It recorded footage of a hidden underwater cavern, its walls shimmering with phosphorescent algae. In the center, several dolphins circled, but they weren't behaving like wild dolphins. They moved in precise, synchronized patterns, almost like a trained performance. And among them was something that sent shivers down Daniel's spine, a torn piece of blue and white fabric, identical to the summer dress Jessica had been wearing that day. Speculation erupted. Had Jessica been pulled into the cavern alive? Could she have been trapped there, injured, but surviving on trapped air pockets? Or was the truth far darker, that the dolphins had been manipulated or trained by someone for purposes no one dared to say aloud? Then 3 months after Jessica's disappearance, a fisherman named Raoul made an astonishing claim. He swore he saw a young woman swimming alongside 2 dolphins several miles off the coast at sunrise. She looked thin, pale, but alive, and she disappeared beneath the waves before he could call out. Raoul's description of her matched Jessica. Exactly. By now, the story had taken on an almost mythical quality. The internet was divided. Some believed Jessica was dead, her body lost to the sea. Others clung to the hope she had somehow adapted to life underwater. Living among the creatures that had once terrified her, Daniel Cross refused to stop searching. In his final expedition log, he wrote, "Every time I dive into these waters, I feel it, she's here. Whether she's a prisoner, a survivor, or something else entirely, I can't say. But the ocean keeps its secrets well, and it's not ready to give this one up." The footage of the dolphin shadow, the torn dress, fabric, and the fisherman's account remain the closest thing to answers anyone has. Jessica Monroe's disappearance is now one of the ocean's most haunting unsolved mysteries, a story that blurs the line between reality and legend. Some nights, along the coastline where she vanished, locals claim to hear strange sounds over the water, not the high-pitched whistles of ordinary dolphins, but something slower, deeper, almost human. Whether it's just the wind or something far more mysterious, no one can say for sure. But one thing is certain, the sea remembers, and somewhere beneath those waves, maybe Jessica does too.